Hi, I'm Sarah from Making Home Sweet Home, and today I have a very simple and fast tutorial for you how to make some oversized burp cloths. So I'm expecting twins later this summer, and I'm trying to get some projects done. I've used a lot of different burp cloths over the years, and I find most of them to be kind of small or skinny, just weird shaped, and I wanted some that are the right size for me. So I'm going to show you how I did that today. So I've already made up 3 of these so far, and they came together really fast. I've got a cotton terry cloth on one side and a muslin cotton gauze on the other, and I think for me anyway, this is going to be just the right size. You can put it over your shoulder. It's got plenty of drape on the back for those babies who are not very dainty when they spit up. This is a good size, and it really maximizes using the most of the fabric and not wasting very much of it. I made myself a pattern out of some old Christmas wrapping paper, 13 inches across and 22.5 inches long. And the reason I settled on that size is 1, it's a very generous size burp cloth, and 2, it allows me to get 2 pieces of fabric out of every half yard. I'm making mine out of some of this cotton muslin gauze and some cotton terry cloth. I've already gone ahead and washed and dried these. The terry cloth, I noticed, only shrunk a little bit in its width, not its length, but the gauze shrunk quite a bit. I had 18 inches and I ended up with only 15 inches of width. So it definitely was a good idea to wash and dry it. I'm gonna cut 1 piece out of the gauze and out of the terry cloth using my pattern. Okay, I'm gonna smooth it because that cotton gauze especially is very wrinkly, so it's easy for it to get little folds that you might not notice right away. I'm going to take the pins out and remove my pattern. And we've now got the gauze and a piece of the terry cloth, which it looks like my selvage here, which is not fuzzy. It's like a plain woven fabric. Most of that will go into my seam allowance, so I'm not worried about that. There's no print on this, and both sides are the same, so I don't need to worry about putting right sides together. When I was doing some of these other ones I did, so the strawberry pattern obviously had a front and a back side to the fabric. So you want to make sure if you're working with a print that you do put the right side to the terry cloth before you start sewing. But in this case, I don't need to because it's the same. Next, I'm going to take this to my machine. We can pin or clip the edges. We're going to sew almost the whole way around. These 2 clips right here are going to remind me to leave this as an opening because we're going to need to turn it right side out when we're done. The gauze does want to shift a little bit, I noticed, so just make sure you've smoothed it really well. But I love this fabric for making anything for babies because it's just so incredibly soft. And then the terry cloth is wonderful because obviously it's very absorbent. I'm going to try for about 1/4 inch seam allowance here. And I've got my stitch length on a 3, which for me is just slightly longer than I normally sew with. I would normally sew with a 2.5 if I were just using like 2 pieces of quilting cotton. But I noticed when I did use that stitch length on the first one I made, and it was just too much for that bulky terry cloth. I kind of prefer having the gauze on the top just because it is more likely to stretch. And if it's on the underside as I'm sewing, I think that made it stretch more. I made several that way just because I wasn't being too particular, but if you're worried about it stretching, I think it helps if you have the gauze as the top layer. If you had a serger, this would be a great project to experiment with your serger because you could just serge the edges and be done. I think that would look totally fine. This is a great project for somebody who's new to sewing because you don't have to be exact. I mean, look at this. This is definitely not my most exact seam allowance, but it's still going to look totally fine once we're done. And I'm going to leave about a 5 or 6 inch gap right here so that I can turn the right sides together, or turn it right side out. All right, I'm going to trim some of this excess fabric. You can see On this side, I've got some corners where the gauze really stretched out. I'm not gonna clip my corners though. I tried one with and one without clipping the corners, and I couldn't tell in the finished product whether or not I had clipped them. It really didn't seem to make a difference on this project, probably because that gauze is so light. We're going to top stitch next the whole way around the edges, and we especially want to get our opening here because when we top stitch, that's how we're going to close this. So let's turn those raw edges in. Again, you can use clips or pins. So I'm going to start here, top stitch over that opening, and then I'm going to go the whole way around. And as I go, I'm just going to make sure that these two layers aren't twisting. I was able to get about within 1/8 of an inch on the other ones I made. Whoa. That was a broken needle. I haven't had that happen in a while. Time for a new needle. Anyway, we have a new needle. Hopefully things go better and that doesn't happen again because we are almost done. Okay, and we're done. Let's see, is it gonna pass the shoulder test? Can I burp a baby or two on here and keep my clothes relatively clean? I think so. And I love having this side too, because if you're wiping their little mouths afterwards. So yeah, I think these will be great. They're not too bulky. They should fit well in the diaper bag. Yeah, so these might become one of my new baby shower gifts to make when I'm sewing for others because they come together so nicely. They're really cute, and I was able to make 4 in about an hour. Yeah, we've got a cute little stack of burp claws. I think that would make a really nice gift. Thanks so much for sewing with me today. I hope this tutorial is helpful to you if you're making some burp claws. Let me know in the comments if you make this project. Thanks so much. Bye.